Congratulations, you're no longer part of the family reunion, my brother announced over lunch. I pulled out a folder, page 1, grocery bills since 2017. Then I dropped the $21,400 breakdown on the table and walked out. The next day, there was a knock at their door. Who was it? And then, they realized the house was no longer theirs. Congratulations, you're no longer part of the family reunion, my brother Michael said, biting into his sandwich like he was just reading the weather report. I was still holding a napkin, hadn't even fully sat down, just froze there by the kitchen table, where everyone had gathered like it was any other evening. Mom shrugged. Dad didn't even look up, just kept flipping through his newspaper like some cliché from a bad sitcom about emotionally absent fathers. Emma, my younger sister, giggled without lifting her eyes from her phone, like the whole thing was scripted. Oh, don't look at us like that, she added. You never really fit in. We're just making it official. No one spoke up for me. No one asked why. No one looked surprised. I sat down slowly, reached into my backpack and pulled out a blue plastic folder. I placed it right on the table, on top of the coffee-stained tablecloth, on top of their smug little silence. Page 1, I said. Grocery receipts since 2017. I started flipping through. Supermarkets, deliveries, prescriptions for Dad, shampoo for Mom, dog food for the mutt that died 2 years ago, the one no one wanted to pay for but me. Sheet after sheet after sheet. And then, the final page. Standard A4, size 14 font, bold, centered. $21,400.38. That's the amount you all like to call helping the family, I said quietly. Now it's just your reality. I stood up, zipped my backpack, looked at Dad. You called this a family dinner, but I'm not part of this performance anymore. And now, you'll feel that. I walked out. No slammed doors. No last word. Just gone. The next day, someone knocked on their door. Dad opened it and saw someone he definitely wasn't expecting. And that's when they finally realized the house wasn't theirs anymore. You'd think they'd ask why I brought receipts to a family lunch. They didn't, because deep down, they already knew. My phone buzzed 2 hours after I left. Group chat, family, lit up like fireworks. First Emma, that was childish, even for you. Then Mom, you embarrassed your father. For what? You think this is how grown-ups handle things? Michael? Silence. Like a true coward. But let's rewind. Because this wasn't about one lunch. This was about years. Since 2017, I've been the fallback plan. The if something goes wrong he'll handle it guy. Every emergency? Mine. Every overdraft? Covered. Every lie? Swallowed. And every time I said yes, they just tightened the leash. When Emma's dog broke its leg, I paid the vet bill. $1,800. When Dad needed dental work, but insurance was a scam, I covered the $3,200. Never saw a thank you text. Just a forwarded meme a week later about kids these days being soft. When Michael accidentally crashed Mom's car while drunk, guess who covered the deductible? Not him. He didn't even lose driving privileges. I paid for groceries so many times that Instacart started sending me their family discounts. They never said thank you. They said, well, you're single. You don't have kids. You make more anyway. That's what family does, right? Until I tried to say no. 2 months before that lunch, I told Mom I couldn't cover Emma's rent shortfall. Not again. She sighed like I'd just spit in her tea. Well, you know how hard it is for your sister. If you had any empathy, you'd understand she's trying. Trying? Emma hadn't held a job for more than 4 months in 3 years. Her trying included yoga retreats, Tinder dates, and a failed Etsy shop selling customized water bottles. A week later, I opened Facebook. There it was. A post from Michael. Photo, me holding a grocery bag in front of their porch. Caption, some people bring wine to dinner. Our brother brings spreadsheets, #accountant vibes, some people never change. And the comments? Classic James. Always tracking every cent. Tell him to log your emotional debt too. Bet he charges for hugs. 50 plus likes. Even extended cousins joined in. I didn't comment. I just screenshotted every single word. Then came the group chat ambush. We need to talk. Can you stop being dramatic? It's just a joke. When I didn't reply, they kicked me from the chat. The family chat. But here's what they didn't know. While they were mocking me online, I was building my case. Like a detective who just found the murder weapon and the diary. Every transfer. Every Zelle, Venmo, PayPal. $21,400.38 wasn't a guess. It was cold math. And then I found the real bomb. I was doing my taxes early, something they've never done in their lives, and noticed a weird credit flag. Someone had used my social security number as a loan cosigner. I dug. Cross-checked the timestamp. It matched the time Michael had been launching his dream startup. You know, the one that failed before it had a name. And the co-signer name? Me. James T. Walker. With a fake Gmail address and a forged signature. I froze. For a moment, I actually blamed myself. Maybe I gave them too much. Maybe I trained them to treat me like this. But then something snapped. And I didn't cry. I started scanning. All of it. I printed the loan forms. I exported every financial statement. And I built the folder. A folder with a full breakdown of family expenses I covered since 2017. Screenshots of mocking group chat messages. The Facebook post and comments. A notarized statement about the forged loan. Email backups. Bank records. My sister's accidental messages admitting she used my card. And a video I'd forgotten I had. Dad, laughing drunk, telling my uncle. James is like a debit card. Quiet and loaded. I uploaded it all to a cloud drive. Shared it with my lawyer. And then I waited. When I brought that folder to lunch, I wasn't looking to hurt them, just to finally protect myself. I was bringing proof to a battlefield. Because this wasn't miscommunication. This was exploitation dressed up in Christmas cards and forced smiles. And they were about to understand what it means to lose someone who always gave when the person you used to walk on builds the exit road. I got the invitation in a text from Mom. Let's just talk. Please. Just you, me, and Dad. No drama. No Emma. No Michael. Just the core of the rod. I said yes. Not because I wanted peace, but because I was ready to end the war. We met at some pretentious rustic bistro they liked to pretend was our spot. I arrived 10 minutes early and took the booth in the back, near the wall, away from the exit. I wanted them to feel trapped for once. They showed up right on time. Mom looked exhausted, the kind of tired that comes from running out of excuses. Dad looked annoyed. His eyes scanned the room like he was already building an escape plan. We didn't order food. Not even drinks. They sat down like this was a deposition. We didn't come here to argue, Mom started. Then don't, I said. There was a pause. Dad leaned forward. You made your point. What do you want? Money back? Apology? Your name in a thank you post. He thought this was a negotiation. It wasn't. I pulled out the folder. Not a copy. The original. I placed it in front of them and said, let's walk through memory lane, shall we? I opened to the forged loan papers. Page 24. This is where Michael used my name to secure $9,000. Guess whose email he used as witness? Yours, Dad. His face changed. Slight twitch. A bead of sweat. Mom reached for the folder. I pulled it back. I'm not done. I flipped to the screenshots of the group chat. Emma said I was always calculating and emotionally manipulative. That I never loved this family. You laughed at that, Mom. He's just bitter because no one married him. She looked down. Finally. Silence that wasn't smug. Then I pulled out a USB drive. This is from last year's Thanksgiving. The audio you didn't know I had running on my phone after I stepped out to take a call. I clicked play on my laptop. Dad's voice, crystal clear. He thinks he's better than us because he has a spreadsheet. He's a walking calculator. I'd replace him with a robot if it came with a credit card. Mom's voice. Don't say that. He's not that bad. Dad. He's not that useful either. Once we pay off the mortgage, we don't need him. I stopped the audio. Then I said what I'd waited years to say. Congratulations. You're free. You'll never have to use me again. And that house you're living in. I pulled out a second envelope. This one's sealed, stamped, and official. As of 9 a.m. this morning, the bank has frozen the deed. I pulled the co-ownership. The mortgage is no longer paid automatically. Mom gasped. You took the house from us? No. I let the bank take it. You'll have 30 days to vacate. But hey, now you'll really be on your own. Isn't that what you wanted? Dad slammed the table. You always think you're the smartest person in the room, don't you? You think this makes you better. That's when I smiled. Not out of spite. Out of release. No. It makes me free. And right then, Emma walked in. She wasn't invited. She didn't sit. She didn't speak. She watched. I turned to her. Did you come for the show? Or are you here to admit you lied? She crossed her arms. This is your revenge fantasy, not reality. That's when I dropped the final bomb. I reached into my bag, pulled out a tablet, and played the video. Emma. On camera. Her voice. Her face. Saying to Michael. Of course I lied about the rent. James would never check. He still feels guilty for leaving. Cut to another clip, a screen recording of her fake messages. Side by side with originals I dug up from the cloud. Photoshopped. Timestamps mismatched. Then the voice memo, her voice spliced to make it seem like I had threatened her. Choppy. Poorly edited. But obvious now. I turned the volume up. Her words echoed through the room, and finally, the truth surfaced. Dad stood up. Mom started crying. Emma froze, the kind of stillness that comes only when the lie dies mid-sentence. Then someone else entered. A tall man in his 30s, clean-shaven, wearing a blazer, holding a manila envelope. My lawyer. He didn't speak. Just handed Dad the envelope. Inside? A cease and desist. Full breakdown of the fraudulent loan. Notice of civil suit. Mom screamed something about betrayal. Dad shouted legal threats. Emma started yelling how I had ruined everything. I just stood, calm. No. You ruined everything. I just stopped pretending it was fine. Then I walked away. No hug. No tears. Just the sound of my freedom beginning. And for the first time in my adult life, I didn't feel guilty. I felt clean. 37 days. That's how long it took between me dropping that folder on the table and watching them walk out of the house they once called ours for the last time. They didn't see it coming. Because people like them never do. They spend years building a fantasy where guilt is currency and the quiet one will always pick up the bill. They never imagine what happens when the quiet one learns how to read the rules and plays better than them. The night after that dinner, I didn't sleep. Not out of nerves, out of calculation. I made coffee, turned off my phone, and spent 8 hours straight building a full-scale recovery plan. Every dollar I had ever given them, groceries, car payments, medical bills, utilities, was mapped out across 4 spreadsheets, 2 timelines, and 1 master doc labeled simply retrieval. Because that's what this was now. Not revenge. Not catharsis. Collection. The first thing I did was lock down everything. Closed every joint account. Canceled every authorized user. Called every utility company and flagged my name for removal. Froze my credit. Contacted 3 fraud departments before lunch. By day 3, Emma's phone was disconnected. By day 5, the power to the house flickered and died, a literal blackout of privilege. Then came the money. I didn't want to sue them as a family. That's what they expected, something emotional, a big dramatic scene. So instead, I filed separately. Clean. Targeted. Legally airtight. Michael was first. I had a copy of the forged loan, the fake email address. Even metadata showing the document was signed from his IP address. He never showed up to court. Default judgment. $9,000. Garnishable. Collectible. No way out. Then Emma. I hit her with documented financial fraud, text where she joked about buying groceries on my card, DMs to her friend bragging that she could guilt me into anything, and a transfer where she used my card to pay off her Klarna debt. She showed up to court in tears. He said I could use it. He always helps me. He's like that kind of brother. I played the voice memo. Her laughter. Her words. James always feels guilty, even when people take advantage of him. Judgment. $6,200 plus $1,500 punitive for emotional distress. She tried to appeal. Lost. And now she owes interest. Finally, my parents. This was the big one. I hit them with a triple claim. Verbal breach of repayment agreement. Unauthorized use of funds. Misrepresentation of co-ownership in financial documents. They tried to fight back. Dad even brought in an old golf buddy who worked in law. He tried to argue I had gifted them the money. Then I showed the judge my bank statements. The emails confirming temporary help. A signed receipt from when Dad accepted a transfer for mortgage buffer until tax return hits. And the real dagger. An email from my mother, thanking me for saving the house, again. Judgment, $8,700. Clean. Enforceable. With court fees. The total now? $25,400.38. I got every cent back, and then some. But I wasn't finished. See, I didn't just want repayment. I wanted deterrence. I wanted them to remember this. So 2 weeks after the last judgment, I bought the house. Yes, the very house they were evicted from. Foreclosed. Bank auctioned. Devalued because of dispute history. I paid cash. No loan. No mortgage. Signed the deed in a silent, sterile bank office. Walked through the house the next day with the realtor, listening to her apologize for the damage and lingering smell of resentment. I didn't keep it. Didn't live in it. Didn't flip it. I turned it into something better. A small, quiet transitional housing space for adults recovering from financial abuse by their own families. 6 bedrooms. Clean kitchen. No motivational posters. Just quiet. Each resident gets a locked cabinet. No shared banking. No favors. I don't advertise it. I don't put my name on the mailbox. But I know what it is. On the front door, a steel plaque reads, "This home is not built on guilt." They started calling again. Not directly, they're too proud. But I got emails from their friends, from second cousins, even an ex-pastor asking if I'd consider restoring the relationship. Emma emailed me personally. Said the judgment was destroying her credit and she couldn't lease an apartment. This isn't you. You're not cruel. Please, I was just desperate. I replied with 4 words. Desperation has receipts too. Michael? He texted me. No, hello. Just. So what? You think you're better than us now? I replied. No. Just done pretending I'm worse. As for my parents, they moved out of state. I only know because a debt collector called me asking if I had a forwarding address. Apparently, they listed me as an emergency contact on a loan application. I laughed and said, never heard of them. That was the moment it all snapped into place. Not just because I got my money, not because they lost the house, but because they finally saw. I wasn't the spare son, wasn't the backup plan, wasn't the wallet in the background. I was the one who walked away and made sure the door didn't stay open. I didn't expect the letter. It came 3 months after the last payment hit my account. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name, spelled carefully the way my grandfather used to write it. I opened it like a bomb technician. Slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded 3 times. The handwriting was shaky. Not my father's. Not my mother's. But I recognized it instantly. Emma. James. You won. And honestly, I think you were right to do it. But I need you to know something. I lied. About a lot. But not about everything. There's something you never knew. Something Dad kept from you because it would have ruined him. Ask Grandpa about 2001. Ask about the other account. I don't want anything. Just go find the truth before it disappears with him. I stared at the paper for a long time. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even curious. Not yet. I was unsettled. Next morning, I drove to the edge of town to the little brick house with wind chimes and a rusted grill out front. Grandpa opened the door, took one look at me, and said, I was wondering when you'd come. We didn't sit inside. We never did. We sat on the porch. I handed him the letter. He read it once. Folded it again. Didn't react. She finally cracked, huh? What's the other account? He didn't answer. Not directly. He just stood up, walked inside, and came back with a shoebox. Inside were old bank statements, land documents, 2 cassette tapes, a birth certificate, and one tiny envelope with my name on it, dated 24 years ago. I opened it. Read it again, and suddenly everything tilted. My real mother's name wasn't Margaret Walker. It was Hannah Cole. She died in childbirth. I was adopted privately, quietly, by my father's new wife 2 months later. They covered it up, changed the certificate, paid off the hospital clerk, because Hannah had been my father's mistress. My entire life had been a cleanup job for his shame. Emma wasn't my full sister. Michael wasn't even told the truth. And me? I was the family's greatest secret. Their reminder of a scandal. Their debt, and flesh and bone. Grandpa looked at me. He never wanted to raise you. He called you a complication. Said he'd make it right with money. But Margaret, your stepmother, raised you like hers. Until she didn't. Why are you telling me this now? Because now you're the only one who deserves to know. The rest unraveled fast. The other account, Emma mentioned? A fund. Set up in my name by Grandpa when I was a baby. Money from Hannah's estate. Over $160,000 by now, untouched, collecting dust and compound interest. He gave me access on the spot. Said he waited until the rest of them proved unworthy. He also gave me the original deed to the vacation property Michael used to brag about inheriting someday. My father had forged a second version years ago, trying to sell it under a fake LLC. But now, I had the legal version. In a single week, I became the legal owner of every piece of property that had once defined their legacy. The mountain cabin, the lakefront lot, the family home turned shelter. I didn't gloat. I closed. Let's wrap up the rest. Michael, after losing the court case, he spiraled. Tried to start another business, a crypto pump scheme. Got flagged by the SEC. His ex leaked messages. He now lives in a shared rental above a vape shop in Florida, doing freelance IT for MLMs. Still hasn't paid a cent of the judgment. I garnished it through the tax refund system. Every time he tries to file, I get the first slice. Emma, she actually tried. Took a job at a veterinary clinic. Started paying back in small increments. Her apology letter wasn't perfect, but it was real. We don't talk. But I don't hate her anymore. Sometimes, not hating someone is the greatest freedom. My parents. They moved to a trailer park near Yuma. My father has gout. My mother, silence. They tried one last stunt, faking medical debt to open a GoFundMe. I sent a copy of the forged deed to the site. Campaign removed. Account banned. No charges filed. Just consequences. And me? I moved again. Quiet place. Clean air. The transitional home I created now houses 7 residents, people like me, who were told by family that they owed everything and deserved nothing. I named it Coalhouse, after the mother I never met, but who, despite dying the day I was born, still gave me more than the people who raised me. I work with a nonprofit now, Financial Recovery Counseling. I specialize in coerced support dynamics, a fancy way of saying people like us, who paid to exist in our own homes. And my last act? I sold the vacation cabin, the one Michael always called our future inheritance. I donated the money, all of it, to a scholarship fund for students estranged from their families. And I named the fund the Spare Son Grant. I'm not bitter. I'm not broken. But I'm done being the silence they filled with their stories. I was never their backup plan. I was never the afterthought. I was the wake-up call. And now? They don't get my money. They don't get my time. They don't get my number. The last thing I did was buy a new phone. When I set it up, I didn't import a single contact. No mom. No dad. No Emma. No Michael. Just one number saved. Grandpa. Under notes. The only one who told me the truth. And that's the thing about truth. Once you hear it, you stop asking for anything else.